And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. Appreciate y'all for tapping in with us on this lovely Friday. We doing all right. No need to ask. We're doing all right. Just get to your question. Just get on to your question. Doing all right.
Bring your questions.
You know, we should probably do that next week, Brian. We should have a Q&A type thing. Let some people.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah, we'll probably do that next week. But now, today, on this Friday, what we're going to be doing, of course, we have our Friday assignment of our Monday, Wednesday, and Friday assignment. But Bryan Broaddus, very interestingly, my hotline blinged, and we had some little news, you know, coming across the situation there. The Dallas Cowboys are once again, I would say, aggressively adding players to their defense there. It may not be the level of talent that some Cowboy fans are looking for. This might be the most talented player that we've signed. But yeah, they are aggressively building on defense. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. But Brian, when we talked about this in off season ago, we had the feeling that, and it's crazy looking back at how stacked we were at edge and defensive end just a little bit ago, right? We was like, man, we got Micah and we got Tank in there, and we got Dorrance in there. Chauncey is in here, and if there's anybody that we liked a lot out of that group, Brian, it was Dante Fowler. We felt like Dante Fowler, his production per plays on the field, his ratio was some of the highest out of all of them. And me and you would come on these shows going, damn, can Dante Fowler get some more snaps?
Sure.
You know? And he was a guy that I would love to have brought back to the Cowboys in that first sweep of guys going to go play for the Washington football team. Well, he went to go play for Washington, came back, and he signed today for 6 with the possibility of 8. He's our second best pass rusher now, Brian. You would say so?
Yeah. I don't disagree with you. I think that, to me, I think the football gods did you a little favor here. I really do. And you know, there's it's a deep draft. You and I have talked about this quite a bit, of the defensive ends. Yeah. But you get a guy that played well for you. And I went back and watched Commander's tape on him. You know, and you go back, you watch how he plays, and he's always been known kind of a guy that could rush the passer. He played the run pretty well for the Commanders. And I mean, play the run is like how you and I are talking about these edges, you know, the extension, get rid of guys, chase the ball, backside plays, get up the field, retrace steps. I was, you know, Eric Chiafalo, who I work with on 105.3 The Fans, like, well, tell me about him as a run defender. I'm like, you know what? The tape that I saw, the run defending part, it's pretty solid from him. Sure. You know, and we always worry about, the guy can rush the passer, but can he play the run? And my gosh, the guy played the run pretty well for the Commanders. And like I said, it was extension on blockers, extension on tight ends, extension on tackles, trying to trap him, trying to hook him, keep an outside arm free, you know, make sure the play got squeezed back to the inside. I'm like, okay, here we go. So, you know, I can't quite understand why this guy is always on 1-year deals, it seems like.
Sure.
Not especially the last couple of years. You know, I can't imagine, and maybe once again it is depth of a draft that you and I have been talking about the last 3-4 months. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe people are like, listen, don't want to spend $6 million. But I'll tell you what, man, there's some people spending some money on some dudes that probably aren't playing as well as what Dante Fowler did. And I think the football gods threw you a gift on this one.
Yeah. You think there's a reason why Dante Fowler gets looked over in that way?
I have no idea. Yeah. I reached out to a couple people, didn't hear back. You know, just because I was curious, why does a guy that on tape, and when I was in pro personnel, you know, in the early 2000s, I would have had a nice grade, I believe, on Dante Fowler. If, you know, we used to put together, when I was with the Cowboys, I put together a draft board, similar to what you and I do every day with positions and then rank them in, how we would, in different categories. Blue, red, purple. Jerry and Steven understood colors more than they did the numbers. So I always kind of ranked them in by colors so they can understand, oh, this is a blue player, this is a red player. And so I think Dante Fowler's game, blue is your Pro Bowl level, of course. Red, guys that are kind of in, maybe they were Pro Bowlers, now they're not. Yeah. Purple is a little bit of like starters, guys you can win with. I think Fowler's game is low red. I think he's in that. I think he's still in that guy that plays at a really high level you can count on. And I don't understand. I don't know if there's something, and he's been a Dan Quinn disciple. Wherever Dan Quinn has gone, this guy's kind of been in the mix with Dan Quinn. Yeah. And then he tweeted the other day about not getting any respect. And right then when I saw that, I'm like, oh, damn, they're not going to pay this guy. They're not going to pay this guy. And give Dallas some credit for jumping in there.
Sure.
Because I think this guy is, if I was meeting with Jerry and Steven, I would call him a red. Again, blue, red, purple, orange. Those were guys that you kind of didn't really want. But man, I'll tell you what, this guy, I feel like he played at a level last year for the Commanders that deserved a contract. Yeah. Didn't get one though.
Yeah. I mean,
and I don't know why.
Like you mentioned, you just see guys like Harold Landry getting about 15. You see Leonard Floyd getting 10. I think Dante Fowler probably did more than those guys.
I do too.
10.5 sacks last year, and he did get better as a rundown guy, Brian. So
yeah,
I think the Cowboys. I think they got a good one here. They should have signed him last year, but I think they got a good one here, Brian, this year.
Yeah. Well, I think that if you look at defensively what they've done, and I'd be interested to hear what you have to say. When you think of Turner, does Turner replace Golston? Okay. Yeah. Does Fowler replace Tank? Well, let's be honest. If Tank got 10.5 sacks, he'd have got an extension.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Hell yeah, sure. If DeMarcus Lawrence got 10 sacks, we're throwing a party because he hadn't done that in a long time.
He hadn't done that in a while, but he played the run, and stuff like that. So, and then you're thinking about, well, you kind of got by the way the contract rolled from Osa, you were able to get Solomon Thomas as a 3-technique backup.
Sure.
Who has he played to the level of the 3rd overall pick? No. Is he a solid player? Yeah. Does he get up the field? Yeah. Does he kind of play in the mold of what Matt Eberflus wants from his 3? Yeah. Get up the field, be disruptive, get occasional pass rush. Yeah. You need Osa to be a sack guy, but you want your 3s. I really liked what they did with Solomon Thomas. And I think with Peyton Turner or with Turner, we'll see how it all plays out for him. But as a replacement for Golston, and then you got the linebackers, I'm kind of interested to see. I really am interested to see how this all plays out. They've clearly, in some spots, they've either got the same guy or improved on the guy that they lost. So this seems like a draft where they're gonna. I don't think it by these signings. I don't think it keeps them from doing anything.
Sure.
Especially at the running back spot. I think that I don't think you're married to either one of these running backs.
Correct.
And to be honest with you, the guy from Carolina,
Miles Sanders might not even make the team, Brian.
I mean, I'm watching Miles Sanders and I'm thinking, okay, what is his redeeming quality that we're going to get out of this today?
He's a veteran for camp. He is a camp veteran.
I agree there. I think that Williams brings something to the game as far as the catching, the blocking, and stuff like that. I think they did this Miles Sanders thing as a guy to like come in and compete, but that is not keeping me from looking at any one of these running backs in the draft.
You know who Miles Sanders is, Brian? He's Zeke before we run out of running backs in the draft. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You remember Zeke? You know, Zeke was like that backup plan. You know, and they went to the draft, and I'm sure that they wanted a running back last year, but they just couldn't get to a running back, so they'll go, all right, cool, we'll just sign Zeke. I think that is Miles Sanders is Zeke, but they're doing it before the draft as opposed to after the draft. That's what I think.
Yeah, I like what you're doing there. I'm again not married to either one of these guys, and if Miles Sanders doesn't make it, I really don't worry about it too much. And because I think there's such quality in this draft at running back that, and we're going to talk about one kid tonight that I think is a very, very good player. But that's I have to give him. I've been very critical of them. I have to give them some credit for how they've been able to fill some holes. But I also want to say this, and people are like, boy, they're being aggressive. They're doing this, that, and the other. I'll give you credit, but I'll also say you could not go through another spring off season of losing as many guys as you did and not replacing them. Yeah. You could not go 2 years in a row doing that. Yeah. Can do it. They could not do that. And they helped themselves in a couple of areas. Now they get to go draft. It used to be 2 years ago, if I asked Voch Lombardi, hey, what's your confidence level of Will McClay and them having a good draft? You would have said, let's go. Yep. Now you're saying, well, got to see. Yeah. Got to see. This is the, this is the old Mickey Spagnola. Well, we'll see what happens. Yeah. We'll see what happens. So that but I think they're off to a good start, but they could not lose as much depth as they lost last year and then this year and not replace it. But they did a nice job with what they have.
Brian, I'm looking on my big board here. I got it up on this screen over here. You know what I'm saying? I'm grateful that Bryan Broaddus told me to make a big board so I can tangibly, so I can see it. I can reach out and touch it if I want to.
I every day I look at that board. Every day. There's not a day that you can go by that I don't look at that board.
Likewise.
Get an idea. Yeah.
Brian, I got 13 first-round grades.
I
got one defensive tackle, Brian. I got 2 edges over there. 1 running back, 1 guard. I got 2 offensive tackles, 2 corners. But Brian, I got 4 first-round receivers on my board, Brian. McMillan, Golden, Bird, and Ibuka in that order. Okay? Now, Jerry Jones came out and said, hey, man, we ain't really got no voids on this roster, man. It depends on who we sign back. Depending on this draft, that's how we going That's how we going to fill the voids in this thing. So, Brian, in my mind, it shouldn't be this way. We shouldn't be pigeonholed going into a draft. If we need 2 receivers, we should have just signed 2 receivers and then go into the draft.
Yeah.
But if we need 2 receivers, we'll probably sign one and draft the other. That's what I think is going to happen here. But, Brian, we've seen the Cowboys selectively, aggressively fill up edge.
Yeah.
They filled up 3-tech. They've thrown a body at corner. They could probably afford to throw another one there. But Israel's technically a body thrown at corner, I would say, but they'll probably do something else. I can't help but to shake the feeling, and you could tell me if I'm on to something or not, Bryan Broaddus. I can't help but to shake the feeling that the pick at 12 is likely going to be a receiver, because just by the way of where we're drafting and the amount of wide receivers I have on my board, right? Jerry and those guys, in my personal opinion, you can tell me if I'm wrong, I think they draft with hope and banking that something is going to be there for them, right? There's not a high probability that Genty will be there for you. There's not a high probability that Carter or Mason Graham will be there for you. There's a high probability that one of these 4 receivers I just named, Bryan Broaddus, are going to be there at 12. So, Brian, do you think because we haven't been as selectively aggressive with wide receiver, on top of the idea that wide receiver, it'll be super heavy in that 12 range for us, on top of the idea that wide receiver isn't as strong in rounds 3 and 4 and 5 like me and you've been looking at?
Yeah.
Brian, do you think that it's likely now that it's getting brighter that the Cowboys are probably going to be looking at wide receiver at 12 based on the moves that we've been making?
Yeah, I think that I think it's a good possibility. I asked the question of my guys on 105.3 The Fan today. Why wouldn't you go out and maybe sign one of these other receivers? Maybe, Keenan Allen. Maybe you go get a veteran guy, whether you like, and maybe they don't like Cooper, but a Keenan Allen. I knew they weren't going to, we talked about, you and I had a show. We knew they weren't going to do the guy from the Rams. We knew that. Everybody kind of figured that out. We talked about that. Man, I was hearing like, no, we're not really interested in Cooper Kupp. I mean, we talked about that. But I would have liked him, and I still would like them to maybe go after Keenan Allen. If it gets to a point, and I'm saying that from a way of now it really kind of opens things up even more for you, that you could still, like I said, I feel like that they're still in play at positions. I think wide receiver, I think the corner, and I think the defensive end. I think those are the three positions we need to look at right now. Yeah. I think those and the reason I haven't said running back, and I would put running back in there, but the more you start to hear things, the more that running back is likely gone. And I'd love for them to be able to take Ashton Jeanty. I really would. But I'm preparing myself for Williams. Michael Williams is what I'm preparing myself for. I'm preparing myself for Will Johnson.
Yeah.
And I'm preparing myself, and we'll see. We'll see which one of these receivers that they like the most. We'll see how much, if they really like McMillan. We will see. Does one of the four that you mentioned, does Golden above, or is Abuka above?
Sure.
We'll see how much they really, really like McMillan if he's there. But I am preparing myself personally, and that's with Jeanty probably not being on the board. I'm preparing the Cowboys to take wide receiver, Johnson or Michael Williams.
Yeah.
That's what I'm preparing myself to have happen.
Yeah.
And that's, but that's, hopefully we'll get a time on Michael Williams to have a little bit, or actually not on Will Johnson. Yeah, hopefully. But I'm preparing myself that one of those guys is going to be the pick. Either, like I say, if Jeanty's out because he's selected, then I'm prepared for one of those three positions: receiver, corner, defensive end, corner, receiver. However you want to put yourself, that's kind of where I think I'm at.
Brian, we have a lot of stock involved in that 40 time. Do you think Will McClay and his guys over there are saying the same thing? Like, damn, boy, I would, this Will Johnson kid, but we need a 40 on him, right? Or do you think that
they drafted Diggs without a 40 time?
Yeah, okay.
They drafted Diggs. Diggs was a consideration at 17. He was a consideration if they got wiped out, and they got the draft gods were smiling on him with CeeDee Lamb. I mean, you had the Eagles take, Rieger, and then you had the Raiders, taking the kid from Clemson, and so that's they caught it right there. But I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be one bit surprised if, in fact, we get to April 14th and Will Johnson doesn't run. It's not going to be surprising to me if, like, well, the hamstring just isn't ready. 4 weeks, just can't get it, or he might run, and that's fine. They don't care what you and I think. Me personally, I think Will Johnson's a good player. I think he's a good player. I just like Barron better.
Yeah, Barron's just a better player. He's a better football player than me.
That's what I'm just. That's me, and I'll support Will Johnson if he's picked. I'll support Michael Williams if he's picked. I just know in my heart as I'm doing this that there probably will be better players on that board that I think are better players. But I'm preparing myself for an end, a corner, or a wide receiver. That's what I'm preparing myself for. Does that make sense?
That makes sense, Bryan Broaddus. That makes sense. Yeah,
But
they're not going to draft like we think they're going to draft.
No, and they can. I hope they prove me wrong.
Yeah,
I hope they prove me wrong, and I guarantee you and I are going to start seeing mock drafts from the fan base where Mykel Williams is picked and where Johnson's picked.
I'm gonna hate them all. I'm gonna loudly hate them all.
And it's like, boy, I like your third round pick. You know,
don't tag me. Don't tag me to no mock drafts that got Will Johnson and Mykel Williams in the first round, man. Please.
Well, our fan base is pretty good about trying to figure it all out. But I'm not going to be against Will Johnson. I'm not going to be against Mykel Williams. I got them both. I got them both there to be drafted. I don't have them both to be drafted at 12.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't have them both to be drafted at 12. And they don't care. They don't care. The last time they cared about what I thought about was 2005.
Yep.
That's the last time they cared about what I thought about.
Yeah.
But I'm just preparing myself. That's what I'm doing.
If this was last year drafting at 27 or something, boy, bring on Will Johnson or daggone Mykel Williams. But man, 12, I just don't want to miss that 12. That's all.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Man, Brian, I got a 4th round pick, man, and I got.
By the way, can I ask you a question?
Hell yeah, bro.
If McMillan happens to be gone, you would take Golden as your wide receiver, right?
Sure would. Take him at 12.
Okay, so you would take Golden over Luther, over Burden, and then over. Okay,
sure.
Okay,
would.
that's good.
Take him
good.
At 12.
You know what? And you know what? I'd give you a high five for that one.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you a high five. I think Golden's a hell of a player.
Yeah.
I really, really do. And if it came down to Golden, Johnson, and Mykel Williams, I'd love for them to take Golden. I really, really would.
Of course.
I really would. Just because my stack, and this is the selfish thing that we do, Voch. We want our stack to be. We don't want them taking some guy at 26.
We want their stack to be our stack.
That's exact. You're absolutely right. When they ask me, hey, who's your best player on the board, kind of a thing, right. That's who my best player is on the board. It might not even be near what they're thinking about.
You know how we watch the Ravens? And they always pick a guy we like. You know what I'm saying? The Ravens
always pick.
I never see the Ravens do a head scratcher like a Cole Strange in the first round. They don't do head scratches. They pick who we like, and they follow their board, man.
Yeah,
it'd be fun to be a Ravens fan.
There used to be back in the day, San Diego Chargers used to be that way for me when they were kind of in the 90s. I would be like looking at players, and then I'd look at the grades I would give. And the Chargers always seem to be like
taking your guys.
I'm like, people go, who? Oh, Brian, who do you think had the best draft? Oh, the Chargers. The Chargers did. And it was always funny because our grades on the tags, you always saw like, we'd see a 121, 128, 129. The Chargers in the third round, they were picking dudes that, that like twos, you had a 1-2, you had second round grades on, and you're like going. That's a team that had a draft. That's a team.
That's the Ravens.
Pittsburgh Steelers will do that to you every once in a while too.
Pittsburgh, Minnesota, they're good drafting teams.
Pittsburgh will have a draft where they took the linebacker from North Carolina last year. Remember the kid that was all banged up that had the bad knee, and so he was like, it was so funny because we were sitting there arguing.
Peyton Wilson.
We were sitting there arguing, like, who's the best player? It's like, well, obviously it's Peyton Wilson. Steelers take him like in the 5th round. Mm-hmm. And I'm like going, there you go. That you just now figured out the value of Peyton Wilson. You just did.
Played a lot too.
The Steelers do that all the time. The Cowboys will take a player, and then the very next player is the Steelers on the clock, and they'll take a guy, and you're like going, Steelers just took a better player than me.
And it's always in the second round too. You always shocked by the second round. I'm like, man, how did Marshawn Nealon get right here? It's always a surprise with us, but
always.
But man, Brian, I got a 4 and I got 3 5s.
Okay, you gave a 4.
Yeah.
I'm going to be interested in this because this is how I ranked you today.
Okay.
I think you liked Trevor Etienne.
I like him a lot.
I think if I had to go, I think you went Trevor Etienne. I think you went North Carolina corner.
Okay.
Huzzy.
Mm-hmm.
Huzzy. I think you kind of like the Georgia tight end.
Okay.
Urasek.
All right.
Is that right?
Yes,
Urasek.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you had Tyler Batty edge from BYU 4th.
Huzzy is my 4th round grade, Brian.
Oh, good for you.
I think Huzzy can play.
Damn right he can play.
Etienne, I got him in the 5th, but he's my 2nd favorite out of
this list.
No,
God, how did you miss that guy?
I ain't miss him.
He catches, he runs, how'd you miss him?
I ain't miss him at all. That's just running back. That's just how running back goes. I didn't miss him at all. I got him right up there with let's see where I got him at. I got him with Devin Neal and Monungai. It's just it's good running backs, and I got those guys in the 5. That's just what running backs look like this year. Yeah, I got him in the 5th though. I like Etienne, but we'll talk about it. Benjamin Urasek is my 3rd. I got him in the 5th round, and Tyler Batty's in the 5th. And it took a lot to keep him out the extras, but it wouldn't be fair to put him in the extras and to keep Hassanine and then Barron and them in the 5. So I put him in the 5 with his cousins.
Yeah, I tell you what, man, I'm surprised. I'm surprised you did that to my guy. So can you give me? Okay. We're going to talk about the North Carolina kid.
We'll
you want to do him first? You want to do him first? Who do you got first? Who do you want to do first?
Let's do Etienne first. Brian, let me tell you the journey. So I've been watching him for a long time because he's just one of them guys that's just been in school. But I watched his film. I watched
Florida.
Yeah, I watched a little bit from this year, and I went back and watched some of his Florida film. I think I liked him so much more in Florida. I think his Florida film is
film's good.
Is really
good.
It
is good.
Beat the hell out of the Tennessee kids. And I think when they handed the ball to him, I think he shows you some pretty good running ability. You know what I'm saying? They just didn't always hand the ball off to him. I don't know why. Yeah. I don't know why I just preferred his 2023 running style versus his 2024 running style. I don't know why. But if you can bring back that 2023, then we on to something. But Brian, like you said, I think he's really gonna shine as a pass catcher. Boy, Brian, he's a natural pass catcher. He gets upfield quickly after he gets the ball in his hands. I really enjoyed him. As a runner, it's similar as pass catcher, right? It's like boom, and maybe it's a cut and then he's gone. Like maybe one cut and he's going. And he catches the ball like that. Catch, cut, going. So maybe he's like a one cut guy with some burst to the back end of him. I like that a bunch. And one thing which I may have to move him up, up my board since I just thought about this. I think he's a good blocker, Bryan Broaddus. I think he's a really good blocker, Bryan Broaddus. I think on third downs, and it was one of these kids. It was like Texas or something. They came in blitz. They tried to jump all up in the air over him and shit like that. He's like, "Nah, get your ass now." He choke slamming people. He's a cool little blocker. I wouldn't call him a ridiculously physical blocker, but when I look at running backs blocking, I want to make sure that you're blocking the right guy, and I want to make sure that you're fully stepped up out of the quarterback's lap. That's what I like in running back blockers. And he pulls that off, Brian. And you looking at me crazy like I'm explaining him like he's a fourth round guy. But I got him in the 5 because that's what running back is this year. That's what running back is this year. But Trevor Etienne, Brian, I got him in the 5 somewhere, man. What you got, Brian? I missed him. Did I miss him?
I'm so ashamed of you right now.
Did I miss him?
I'm so, hell yeah, you missed him.
I ain't missed this damn kid. Tell me why.
You missed this kid.
I ain't missed
I'll tell you what. Let me tell you what. I got this kid in the 4th.
Okay.
I'll tell you what I did with this kid.
Mm-hmm.
I got this kid above Brooks, Martinez,
okay,
Tootin. I've got Tutton.
Okay.
Tootin.
Okay.
I got it. I got it now. James, Neal, Giddings, ATN, Brooks, Martinez, and Tutton.
I know why.
Those are my.
I know why. Because you value the running backs that do everything. The runner, catcher, blocker. You value that. I value running backs that run with a little bit of weight. You know what I'm saying? So I like a physical thumpy kind of back. You know what I'm saying? So I feel you.
You didn't see this kid making people miss and running through tackles and stuff like that.
I think
you said you watched him play against Florida.
I think
when he played with Florida,
I think his Florida film was much better, and there was some of that. But why didn't he have that at Georgia? But why didn't he have that at Georgia? But please go ahead.
They didn't hand him the damn ball. They did not hand him the damn ball.
As real shit.
This guy comes from a family of running backs, okay, and he's got balance. He's got elusiveness, which you missed. He does a really nice job of making defenders miss in space. He's got some elusive rush with the vision. He can make some sharp cuts.
Sure.
I think the acceleration is there. I don't think he has long speed though. Okay. I don't think. I think that initial get through go, but it's the finishing part. There might not be. He ran 4.42, but when you watch him play, there were a couple times he got fetched. He does a really nice job at catching the ball. He's got very natural hands for this. He makes plays with the ball in his hands, the ability to gain. He gets really good gains. He takes like short gains or good gains and makes some great gains with the way he plays. I think he runs smart. I think he makes good decisions. I think he's physical. I don't think he's had a bunch of carries in his career, but he's really kind of made do with what he's had. Good on the blitz pickup, as you mentioned. He doesn't let his lack of height throw him off here. I really do respect how he's able to make defenders miss and bounce around until he finds daylight. I think he can be a weapon out of the backfield catching the ball as well. And you know me now. I go last line has some all-around traits to his game. And so that's why I put him in that fourth round, and I put him above Brooks, who we know could catch the football. We know he could block. We know how he can run. He can make a couple of different cuts. I just felt like, though, that with handing him the ball, I kind of felt like, I put it this way, hand him the ball, throw him the ball. I thought it was just a little bit above what Brooks and Martinez and those guys were doing.
Sure.
That's why I put him in the fourth.
I don't hate that at all, Bryan Broaddus. You know what I'm saying? I don't think we disagree all that much. I just think you.
Oh, you just buried the damn kid. Don't worry about it.
I buried him. I look.
You buried the damn kid in the fifth round down there with that
Bryan
Manunga. I'm finally learning how to say Manunga's name now, so I can say it.
They ain't even how to say it. Look.
Manunga, how does he say his name?
Manunga.
Okay.
Manunga. When I looked at his game log from 2023, the Tennessee game jumped out to me. That's when he had all the carries. And I must say, Bryan, when he gets all of his carries, he does a fantastic job as a runner. I wish they would. I wish that they would have thrown the ball to him more.
I do too. And I think this is where he's going to. I think this is where he's really going to be good in the league, is because they swing it to him and like he's catching it on the run. It's not like he's having to, that quarterback at Georgia, man. When you watch the tight end for Georgia, that poor kid's, that kid, he's trying to make circus catches with that quarterback back.
For sure.
So, but yeah, don't worry about it. You got the other ones right. You just missed this one.
I was right about that. Well, Bryan, I hope he goes out there and gets a damn Pro Bowl for you. So I hope he knocks it out the park. I hope he knock it out the park, Bryan Broaddus. But just looking at some of these other guys, I might have Brooks too high now that I look at some of these names here.
Where do you got Brooks in the third round?
I got Brooks in the fourth behind Krosky, Merritt, and James. I might want to put Brooks.
The guy I'm worried about that I messed up is Krosky Merritt.
Krosky Merritt, a bad boy, Bryan.
I worried I might. If you want to do it, and I think you attacked me on Krosky Merritt.
I may or may not have. Yeah, sure. Possibly, I could have. I maybe I did.
I could be wrong about Krosky Merritt. I hope not, though. He's a good player, and I put him in the fifth, and it's probably for the same reason you put Etienne in the fifth. Probably the same reason.
Well, you don't like Krosky Merritt. I love Etienne. He's just in the fifth.
You love him in the fifth.
I love him in the fifth. I like all these There's not a running back that
there's not a running back I've seen that I don't like.
That I don't
Seriously.
like. I would take any one of them. I would take any one.
I agree. I agree, and I agree. I think I might have Blue too high
as a third round guy. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I wonder if Blue is going to be an every down guy, or work as an every down guy.
Possibly.
Probably not. Probably not.
But Bryan, this Elijah Huzzy kid, man. I'm gonna add him to the list of these shorter guys.
There's your nickel. There's a nickel corner right there.
Nickel corner right there. But you know, just like our guy Parrish from K-State, right?
Yeah.
Just a guy that he's short, and he looks comfortable playing outside. He looks fine.
No question.
But you know, the league has a size mandate that they like for guys like that. But
yeah, they do.
But man, when I'm watching Huzzy lined up out there, Bryan, outside, I see some physicality for a little dude. I see a dude that's always in phase. I see a dude that mirrors really well, that reads routes really well. I see these guys try to break on these inside routes on him, bro. I love to see him try to break an inside route on him, and he gets in on those inside routes, Bryan Broaddus. It was one of those games, maybe it was Duke, where they tried him to the back corner of the end zone, and look, he out there fighting.
They sure did.
He fighting on fighting in the back corner of the end zone, Bryan Broaddus. He has a gang of breakups, you know what I'm saying? And I love a corner that can find the football, even in man coverage, that can get his hands on it. I love that kind of stuff. I don't know what his speed is like, you know what I'm saying? But his smartness and his football intelligence keeps him in the game. It keeps him in the game. I didn't like it when North Carolina tried to pull him off. I didn't like him in that off coverage.
I didn't either.
I didn't like him in that off coverage, because then he has to make up ground in front of him. I think he's just much better when he just gets to latch on to guys, because he's always in phase. And I thought that sometimes he trusted his eyes a bit too much and tried to gamble a little bit, you know what I mean?
Right.
But for the most part, even if he doesn't bat the ball away, even if you halfway catch it, he's a guy that's going to keep swiping until the play is over. And I love corners like that. And I like him as a rundown support guy. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what to call him as a tackler, because he's small. And I do think that his size is kind of going to get in the way in general. But he's a willing rundown guy. And I think he's competitive.
He's not afraid. He doesn't dive into the ground and stuff like that.
He's not afraid. Yeah. He is wrapping your tight ends up until help gets there. And I think he has a lot of aggression to him, a lot of competitiveness to him. I think he got a good little edge to him, Bryan. I like Elijah Huzzy, he little bitty, and I seen him in the bowl practices, and he was competitive.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you what you thought of it. He got hurt. Yeah. He got hurt in the practice, and then he couldn't work out at the combine. He was at the combine, but he was dealing with they said he didn't work out because of a knee.
Yeah.
So I wonder how bad that was. But I tell you what, I think you got this guy right. I really, really do. And I was trying to think. Where I loved in the fourth round. Here are my guys. I got Parrish, Riley.
Yep, that's where I got
from Louisville.
Yep.
And then I got Huzzy, Dotson, Bryan, Alexander. That's kind of my fourth round of guys.
Okay.
Those are kind of my, and I kind of feel like that Parrish, Riley, Huzzy, maybe my nickel guys, maybe my, draft and because of maybe lack of 5'11", 5'10", 5, right. They're kind of got them right there.
Yep.
And I don't want to forget them. Like, I'm like, someone's going to say, Bryan, we need a nickel. Yep. Got three for you right here.
Riley, Huzzy, Parrish. Yep.
Boom. Got three for you.
Yep.
And you got to figure out which one of those. I think you nailed this kid, by the way. I really, really do. I can't add much more. What I will add to him, though, is I need to talk to my guy Mike Lombardi down there at North Carolina to see what he knows about this kid.
That's my cousin.
But yeah. But this, I'm glad you remembered the East-West stuff, because you can kind of go back and he's in those drills, super competitive.
Yeah.
And this guy's smart. He tracks the ball. He's smooth. He can disrupt timing of a receiver with the physical jam. He does a good job staying connected, as you said. He's rarely knocked off balance in the way he plays. Okay, this is where I think you got to be a little careful with this kid because he's so aggressive.
Yep.
He's really tight. He could get a little handsy, little grabby.
Sure can.
He could get a little grabby. He did transfer from East Tennessee State. So he went and he was like, from what I understand there, he was like a ball hawk at East Tennessee State. But you get him at North Carolina, he plays really tight, but got to watch. I hope that the handsy part doesn't turn into penalties and things like that. Sure. But this kid, he's right there in my 4th round, Parrish, Riley, Hussey, nickel players.
Yeah.
Yeah. When they get drafted, it's the first thing I'm going to say, okay, here's an ideal nickel for somebody because of the way these kids play with smoothness. You could bring this kid on a blitz. You could bring this kid on some pressures and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And he had a couple of sacks this season. Yeah. So good little player, man. Yeah. I'm interested to see what he runs. Like I say, he couldn't work at the combine because of a knee. I hope that's not something that's going to carry into where he's not going to be able to get a 40 time on him.
Right. Bryan, you mentioned our tight end, Urasek,
yeah.
I feel like I've been watching him for a long time too, man. He was a Stanford guy.
Stanford. Yeah. You're right.
And then he's a Georgia guy now. Bryan, why don't you lead us off with Benjamin Urasek? What you think of him?
Yeah, I have him in the 5th round, and I also have Evans from Notre Dame in the 5th.
Yeah, me too.
And I have him above Evans. Ferguson, Oregon, Arroyo, Miami, 4th round for me. I was debating on, was he better than? Man, I should have went back and watched some Stanford tape on this kid.
Sure.
But I didn't. But from what I understand, he was super productive catching the ball at Stanford.
So, Bryan, it's weird. At Stanford, they used him much more as a receiver, and he looked better as a receiver. But with Georgia, he's like a blocking guy, right?
Yeah, see, this is what I said. My first line of my notes was transfer from Stanford, was an outstanding receiver there, used as the role of a stunt man at Georgia. You know, stunt man in the movies when it's like, okay, all right, bring in the stunt man. All right, let's blow up the building. There's the stunt man.
Go in motion and block somebody on the bubble over there.
He is a ton of dirty work. This is a dirty work player. Yeah. And, you figure Stanford, Stanford's got toughness, but man, this kid took it to another level. He's in line. He's a move guy. He's a fullback. He's a lead blocker on the screen. He's a lead blocker on the edge. I kind of felt like he did a pretty solid job of staying up on his guys. Now, he was better against Tennessee than he was against Ole Miss doing that, but I kind of felt like the guy had a little bit of a burst. I thought there was some separation. I felt like he kind of knew where he needed to be in coverage. He could catch the ball, the body control, the balance. I don't think he has great speed, but I think he's fast enough.
Yeah.
He did not go to the combine, so I don't have a time on him. I think I looked up on my combine, my notes for the tight ends. I don't think he was a combine invite. So I couldn't get it. I was kind of curious, like, okay, what's this guy's time? But yeah, he's a guy catches a ball. The stuntman stuff was pretty impressive as far as his willingness to do it. Is he a glass eater, train killer, all those cliches you want to say for a guy? No. But I could see somebody using him as a second or third kind of a tight end and being a guy that you have a star tight end and he's comfortable doing all those other things that I said that he could potentially do. I had him in the 5th round. I debated on putting him in the 4th round. I couldn't put him above Arroyo or Ferguson. They're 4th rounders, top of the 5th. I have him over our Notre Dame a guy Evans, who we did a few days ago in the 5th round.
I got him better than Evans also, Bryan. When I watched him in Stanford, I had to go to YouTube to find the film, but he's getting off the line of scrimmage, Bryan Broaddus. Like he's running like vertical stuff going on, He didn't do a whole bunch of vertical stuff in Georgia from what I saw.
Really didn't.
He'll run a curl, he'll run a little out, something like that. But for the most part, like he'll creatively go and block people. And I thought he was impressive as a blocking guy. I didn't see him blocking much. Not Stanford. I didn't see him. You know what I'm saying? But and I'm like, all right, they got him in motion. Let's see what's happening now. He'll go in motion and block somebody on the bubble or something. I'm like,
he like they put him outside on screen, and then he'll wham inside on a defensive lineman, and you're like going, God dang! Yeah. But it ain't like he's digging dudes out or something like that. But he's getting in. He's trying to. He's just trying to not get overrun, but he gives effort. He's not going in there sideways, like half man and like, oh, I'm just, he's trying to get his face and his hands inside on these blocks.
So how I read it, Bryan, like he's not a guy that I would value because he doesn't have a lot of physical traits that I like, but I think he's going to be a dude that's dependent on the quarterback and the offensive system. If he's with a good quarterback and he's with a system that's great, I think he could be great. But if he has to lean on his own talents, I don't think he's going to do very much. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, it's Stanford. Like I said, it's the catching aspect does it. But they said, listen, they went from being Stanford, kind of maybe flashy, catch the ball guy to we're about to bloody people's noses with you. That kind of and he seemed like he was up for the task. So hopefully he can carry that in to his next gig.
Bryan, you were saying that Trevor Etienne got a football family. He's a family full of running backs. Did you know Tyler Batty got 3 cousins in this draft? Did you know that?
No, I didn't. Who are his cousins? Did you look them up?
Ahmad Hassanin, Tyler Barron, and Gelati. Did you know that? And
Gelati from Louisville, they're all cousins.
Gelati, they're all Gelati, Hassanin, Barron, and Batty. They all cousins. Did you know that, Bryan Broaddus? Did you know that? Man, we should ask Brugler about this one, man. You know what I'm saying? All these guys, they all look alike. They got the same size. They all play with a lot of effort. They stumble into sacks. They run past some sacks. They run down the middle of people. They big as hell. They play B-gap sometimes. They got long arms. They don't really know how to use them all the way, but they use them good sometimes. They'll run and chicken wing people, and guards will try to hang on to the back of them, but they still just run to the quarterback and miss with people draped on their back. They never think to do a move to get them up off of them. You know what I'm saying? But they all find a way to be productive. They all make their respective defenses better than what their defenses really should be. Yeah. And I got them all in the 5th, Bryan. They all in order. Gelati, Hassanin, Barron, and Batty. They all together. All my cousins right there. They all together, Bryan. What you think about Tyler Batty from BYU?
Oh, I don't know how I follow that, but I will. I'll do my best. I think when you said cousins, I'm like, my God, this guy really's got, I was thinking BYU, man. All right,
it's
cousins. Got a big family. He's got guys all over the former Pac-12.
Oh, yeah.
All right, with Batty, this guy's an older player. Missions and COVID will make him a 25-year-old rookie. But there's no quit to his game. I like what you're saying. He does play like a base end and a 3-4 front. He's dense. He's got a powerful frame. He's got powerful hands. He can kind of hold up the point of attack. I feel he's a much better run defender than he is pass. You mentioned that. I think he can control some blockers. I think you'll see him knock some blockers back when the ball carrier is right around him. He knocks these blockers back, and then the ball carrier kind of determines the direction he's going to go and goes by him, that kind of thing. Yep. The punch, the timing, there's occasionally there with the hands. He's able to shock a blocker with his power a little bit. I think he does a good job of creating some stalemates along the line of scrimmage. The leverage, lateral agility, chase the ball. He's not a quick twitch player at all. He will create pressure in the pocket just with power is how he's doing it. He's more likely to walk a blocker back than attempt to work the edge is how he really is. Not much pass rush moves, but he'll try a swim move occasionally. He'll put his hand down or he'll stand up, but he just doesn't have that explosive burst. I see this guy playing in a rotation where his motor, his effort will allow him to get an occasional win. He could be a real problem as a base in playing the run in a 3-4 or reduced inside as a tackle with his length and power. So 6'6", 271. I agree with you about where he is on in the board thing, the round where he should be. You're right. He has cousins, and they're all kind of right down there together.
Yeah, Bryan, we're about done watching edges, right? Like that should be the last edge we got.
You're usually responsible for the edge game. That's
29 guys. That's 29 guys, Bryan.
I think is there any more that anybody's asking us about? I feel like I get asked about players every once in a while. I feel pretty good. Batty was the guy in the mock drafts that was always kind of the 5th or 6th round guy that they always draft him in the mock draft, and he was always in that 5th or 6th round.
There's a couple more names I'm just looking at, Bryan. I've seen R.J. Oben from Notre Dame. I've seen his name.
Okay, his dad was Roman Oben. He used to be an offensive tackle. Yeah.
Apparently, Tyrion Ingram Dawkins from Georgia. I've seen his name.
Yeah, okay.
And
another hyphenated name in this draft.
Yeah, no. And I've seen Ja Joyner from Minnesota. Should we?
I think you need to throw Ja Joyner on there. I know our colleague Aisha Morrison was saying some things about Ja Jordan, and I think that we need to probably take a look at that.
We'll take a look, bro. And there was one more kid. Me and Woodchuck were at the Shrine Bowl practices or whatnot, and Johnny Walker Jr. made some plays, but I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. But Missouri is where he's from. So
right.
maybe like next month we can look at those guys or something. We need to get around the board a little bit to fill this thing out. But we got 29 edges, and we strong in the 5th right now. So
yeah,
we'll see.
Exactly.
We'll see what we at. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope y'all enjoyed this long episode that we did tonight, but it was filled with great information. Y'all please go in the comments and tell us where you rank these 4 guys that we talked about today. Was I wrong on ETN? Is Bryan tripping? Tell us what you think of these guys. And stay tuned. Stay tuned to our social medias, VOCHLMB and BRYN Broaddus. We're gonna give you the next 10 that we're gonna do. I'm going to take a nap and reflect on it. I'm gonna wake up in the morning and I'm gonna get on that list and send it to Broaddus, and we're gonna go from there. All right. So we appreciate y'all for tapping in with us, man. We are very grateful that y'all watch our show every night. Some shows I may do once a week, 3 times a week. I do the draft show once or twice a week. We do this 5, Bryan, and y'all tap in and watch it. So appreciate y'all. Love y'all to pieces, man. But we gonna enjoy this weekend, and we'll catch y'all Monday. Until next time, Crown.